What's up, guys? Ivan here with getivan.com, and in this video, I want to talk about how to make money online with digital assets. So, really, kind of a long backstory. The short story is that I was talking about this with a peer of mine and thought a great deal about it, put it on paper, been thinking about it for the last couple of weeks. I also um, replied to a forum post where a guy was asking, how do I go from $100 to $1 million? And most people kind of scoff at that and laugh at that. But I really kind of thought about that. It's a good question. If you're really serious about being successful online, how would one go about doing that? What are the methods? So I'm going to talk about how to make money online with digital assets in particular. And then I'm going to talk about some of the methods that I came up with when I was writing that forum reply. So this is the a sort of taxonomy or dichotomy of various types of value, I guess you could say, you could have in property and in potential labor and so on and so forth. Three categories I've developed are labor, investments, and assets. And in this order, really, because I think the average person really is focused on how do I make money with my time. And then a lot of people get the value of investments. There's a lot of folks who invest in the diversified portfolios for financial markets and what have you. And then in the digital sector, there's a lot of guys who are involved in cryptocurrency. So that would be clearly an investment. And certainly, buying land and holding on to it, could be considered an investment or that investment slash asset. But thirdly, an asset is really is something that you own that is able to bring you more income per month, and ideally in a passive way. That doesn't require you to constantly do more labor. Like you use your labor to develop the asset, and then it allows you to diminish the amount of labor that you do, and it sort of works for you. And most people, now you could make an argument that say there are simple objects like a car or a cell phone. This is an asset and I can do a lot with this asset. It's also an investment, but it's an asset, and I can do this asset can make me money. So there are some really simple things that are an asset. Um, but again, a lot of the times when we're looking at business models and methods and tactics and strategies, we are really focused on the labor part. I do a certain strategy and then I make a certain amount of money. And not understanding that our labor is sort of it's here today, gone tomorrow. It's a certain amount of energy expended, and once it's gone, it's gone. It's kind of like I've been looking into a lot of agricultural stuff recently, and in farming, there are certain flowers and certain crops that are annual, biannual or biennial, and then perennial. And Perennials, they grow year after year perpetually, from what I understand. And so a lot of us, though, labor would be kind of like that annual crop. We're always sowing that annual crop, right? And trying to make money over and over and over by sowing and tending to and then reaping that annual crop. But the asset is sort of like the perennial. You plant it one time, maybe nurture it for a second to get it going, and then it just keeps growing forever, over and over, perpetually, unless some outside force, does something, does some labor to destroy it. Um, and investments work kind of similarly to assets, but really it's kind of like you're investing into the labor of somebody else. So there's a high amount of risk in investments compared to assets. So let's take a look at some of these methods so I can give you guys an idea about some of the things that I came up with in response to this guy about how to get to $1 million. And at a glance, you'll kind of see that a lot of these ideas are assets. So these are assets here, and some of these are labor oriented, some of these are investment oriented, and there's a lot of other methods that could get you to that number. But I wouldn't list something like cryptocurrency, for example, because it is an investment that has the potential to get you there, but it's very high risk. So when I was listing out these methods, I was trying to list out things that really are viable, that just about anybody could do, and that had the mathematical potential to get you to a significant income. So again, the question is how to make money online with digital assets. And so that's really kind of what I want to focus on. So this first service, charge $100 a month for content marketing services at 1K customers who hit your mark. So that's 100 grand a month, and in a year that's $1 million. Sounds simple. But it's a labor-oriented method. Even though it's a retainer, most digital services, whether you're looking at microservices on Fiverr or uh, or just acquiring local business clients, most services, SEO or PPC services or web design or graphic design, they're very heavily labor-oriented, and they tend to be services where you are laboring to build somebody else's asset. And so it's very deceptive because oftentimes we go for this retainer, this recurring income. But what I'm trying to show you guys, and no patronization intended for this to understand what I'm trying to say, but there's an underlying set of governing principles here under your recurring income. And the nature of how it is able to perpetuate itself is extremely important. So the things that I have are partially asset oriented, but still heavily labor oriented. The things that I do that are asset oriented would be purchasing of servers and renting of proxies and providing, scraping services and, um, excuse me, B2B leads, right? The server is an asset. The proxy is an asset. It's an asset I pay for, right? And then the actual product is an asset that I can, continue to sell. So that is a great example of something that's an asset. But in order to do new orders, I have to do new labor and get new, lists together. And there's a lot of custom orders. So it's partially an asset, and there's a lot of elements that are asset oriented, which make it more scalable. But it's also a certain amount of labor in order to be able to create that recurring value. Some other services I do, like SEO, that's purely a labor because I'm creating either content or backlinks and I'm giving those to a client. So I'm actually creating assets for the client. And that is not a good business model. To just be really frank about it, not a good business model, and there's a lot of reasons why. Well, won't get into that. But you could scale those retainers, right? And you could make a certain amount of money if you keep the customers, if the customers stay subscribed. And in a lot of digital services, uh, you really need to be a customer needs to be on a retainer for 1 to 3 years to see a significant impact in their business. And that's not likely to happen. A lot of customers won't stick around for more than, 3 months or something like that. That's the challenge with digital services on retainer. And so you can make money online through a bunch of different, I've made a little bit of money through, you know, a dozen different methods. Uh, but it doesn't mean it's scalable. It doesn't mean it's sustainable. It doesn't, mean that you even have like getting up every day and doing sales. That's something, but you're doing business, but it's not a stable business. You need to build assets because when you have an asset, then you don't lose the work that you've done. You see what I'm saying? So let's go to the next point. Start a YouTube channel or any social media promoting 1 or 2 recurring affiliate programs and how to use them. Probably hit your mark at 3K signups or so. So that's about $30 a month or something like that. So the idea there is, now what I want to introduce you guys to is this has actually cascading dependencies. Like certain parts of this model are assets, certain parts of them are labor. And so this is also something that we need to retrain our thinking in, that your product may be an asset, but what's the traffic method? Is the traffic method asset oriented? Does it work for you over and over, or do you have to keep doing work and putting, anytime you have to put money into something, you might as well consider that labor, right? Because you're losing you're losing labor in from something, even if it's draining one of your assets. You're losing, anytime you're losing money, you're losing labor, right? So let's just keep that in mind. So the YouTube channel or the social media platform, that's the traffic method, right? And now you could say, okay, a branded channel is an asset. That's true. But do you own it? 50/50. You own it with the social media platform. In the last couple of years, we've seen a lot of brands getting deplatformed because social media companies decide, hey, we are the bosses of your assets. That's not cool. And so there's a certain amount of risk. You only want to start assets in certain niches in that case, and nothing too controversial. That way, you can retain ownership and have less risk, but there is still a bit of risk there. Then you've also got the affiliate program, which technically the affiliate monetization. So you've got this, okay, product, traffic, and monetization. And really, we should put some sticky notes for that. Product. Put this in pink or green. Let's put it in green. Product, traffic, monetization. And am I correct in saying product? Maybe I got confused for a second there. Niche with informational products. Okay. Well, the product could be well, no, the monetization is different. So yeah, this is a good thing to keep in mind. So we're going to do product, traffic, monetization, something to keep in mind. All three of these things need to be asset oriented. Like when I go to build my product, whether it's, a service or an actual, digital product or whatever, uh, it needs to be asset oriented, and it doesn't need to be something where, okay, it's like I put in this work to make this thing and now it's gone. Like I can't make money from it ever again. That means that every time you want to go make money off of your offer, you have to keep doing the work over and over. It's a stupid deal. Uh, but really, when you think about it, like you can make more money by making one single $25 product one time and selling it over and over and over again than by offering custom products for $25 each time. You see what I mean? That sounds like common sense, but do we think of it in this hierarchy? I think that's the challenge, because it's easy to get into other types of thinking. Then the traffic also has to be an asset. And because if you're paying for, uh, some sort of ad platform traffic, it's not an asset. You're losing your labor, you're losing your money to go into that traffic. And the idea in paying for traffic like Facebook ads or Google ads is you're building a following with the traffic. You're losing money in the immediate, but in the long term with repeat business, you will hopefully you'll be making more money back, recurring. That's the principle with most traffic methods. But there are platforms like, say, Fiverr, for example, where it's an internal SEO platform, and once you have your gig out there, then it ranks. And basically, there's a whole internal traffic system that works for you passively. That's an asset based on your reputation, and that exists in a variety of other forms, through other traffic, through other platforms that generate traffic to content. And so this is a tricky one, but it has to, in order for this to sell, you have to have steady flow of traffic in order to be even be able to vet and understand the nature of how a product is received. You have to have some amount of traffic to be able to make adjustments. So you do have to have traffic, and it has to be cost effective. Um, so this is a big one. Next one, you have monetization. So you might have a great product and you might have asset oriented traffic, but then, like, what's the package? What are you saying they're going to get? And what are you charging for it? This is a big deal. What's the medium? Is it a subscription? Is it a one time offer? Um, how does this work? Is this something where um, you can is this something where, and the reason I put this is because on this point, for affiliate programs, you see, that model is not really asset oriented. You know, it's great. It's great it's great opportunity, but it's once you send them that traffic, right? Then you've got your content, your product, your traffic. Once you arbitrate that, right? You lose technically. And not to say that it's not a great deal and you can't make good money, because I do have some things I make good money from affiliate offers. But technically speaking, it's not an asset. You are losing total potential value by just accepting a small percentage. And so that might be okay. Maybe we could make the argument that 2 out of 3 of these makes for a good business model, right? But the more that you can get lined up, the better you will do. It seems to be logical, right? So let's move on to the next points. Find a niche with informational products in high demand, then arbitrate content and graphics to experts and kit the product together to sell cheaply on Amazon. Hit your mark at 100K sales. So if you're selling your product at $10 a piece, then you can make $1 million by selling 100,000 product, right? And there's famous marketers like Russell Brunson, for example, who owns ClickFunnels, and he does an offer that's like, free book on, you know, highly converting funnels or whatever, and then he'll say plus $10 shipping, So really easy thing to do. And it's interesting. I think he has several books like that. Uh, and there's a number of people who've done that kind of thing, and really kind of done the guru-esque thing. Then they sold their book and made a ton of money, and then they actually learned how to be more successful, which is interesting. So the idea here is that you can create books, you can create ebooks, you can create courses, informational products by rolling together high quality pieces of information. And like once you have that book, once you have that piece of information, uh, it's an asset. So that's definitely an asset oriented method you can use to make recurring income forever. And if you can plug that into a traffic source like Amazon, or a number of other places, and there's no reason to think that you couldn't make money over and over and over. Now there might be some challenges with fulfillment, if it's print on demand, or depending on the medium, how easy it is to connect to automated fulfillment. There's a number of considerations, but this is a largely asset-oriented method uh, that could get you to a good amount of income. And the same thing would go with print on demand, T-shirts and other types of products. Redbubble, Zazzle, so on and so forth. Okay, next point: sell agency services for $1,000 a month to Smbs. At 100 clients, hit your mark. Some people would say, $5,000 a month at 50 clients, hit your mark. Well, that's completely labor oriented. And I know there's guys out there who do that. The ones that I've seen who have the pictures of themselves with Lamborghinis, they oftentimes will have a business model that's like, okay, we got agency fulfillment and it costs a few $100 or several $100 or something per month. And I've done audits for companies and found that, some of the services they were using were just really scamming, and just that businesses just don't know what's going on. There's not enough transparency. They don't understand digital services. So you got to be real careful when you look out in the environment and you see people kind of posturing, because you don't really know what's going on under the hood. They could just be obsessed with sales. And I'm acquainted with guys who are like that. There are a lot of guys that are just obsessed with sales, and the product under the hood is just really crummy VAs. And maybe they manage some of that a little bit, so it could be better, but it's not a quality service. you know so they're just hustling and making sales. I did an audit for a consultancy not too long ago, who was trying to advise a couple of commercial level businesses, and they sent me a marketing report for a very big agency in the United States that apparently received angel investment over $100 million. And it was shocking to see that a lot of the clicks that they were driving were from directories that seemed like they were probably Yelp. So they were paying for Yelp ads, is what it seemed like. So just really crummy reports. Obviously, outsourcing, probably from India, and just there's a whole other culture out there of companies that make a lot of money selling stuff. And this is, but again, so that's a con. You can make a lot of money by just getting a yes from people, but it's still labor oriented. Someone's got to do the labor. Someone's got to be responsible for that labor. And there's high risk. If you're an honest person, how are you going to keep those retainers and also connect it to high quality services? It's a lot of work. It takes a lot to set up a high quality agency and competent persons, SOPs and training and so on and so forth. This is not a great business model. I still do labor because it's the easiest way to quickly make money, and I have experience in it. But those days have got to come to an end. I got to get me some assets. Next point, hire someone to set up a simple SaaS service that solves a mainstream pain point in a specific niche for $25 a month. Hit your market 4K customers. So really simple. You pay someone to set up a simple service, typically automated through software, and it's a cheap price, and that's definitely an asset. Now, the customer service would be labor oriented and maybe updates and things like that. There's a certain amount of labor and expense that goes into it, but it really is an asset. Once it's set up and running and it's created, then it can make recurring monies for you over and over and over for a pretty excellent margin. Even with I think I'm a big fan of the lower subscription model stuff because you want to get as much adoption as you can, high yeses. A lot of guys seem to be using CodeIgniter and stuff like that. I've looked into various solutions. I haven't quite figured out how to do it all by myself. So if it was me, I would look into maybe hiring someone to do something on CodeIgniter. And we'll talk more about something interesting like that down here in another similar model. But this is definitely an asset-oriented model. And of course, you need to plug it into a traffic system that is going to allow you to build it's an asset in terms of building a following, right? Next point, set up simple affiliate websites. And I would even also argue not just platform oriented, but also in terms of SEO, for example, ranking really well for a particular set of keywords can be considered an asset if you do a really great job on your content marketing. But that requires a lot of investment to develop that content. That content is an asset for sure. And really, I need to get a spreadsheet and articulate all these types of labor that one can do and their nature. Which types of labor are, one-off labor that doesn't have a good recurring value? Which types of labor are excellent for creating recurring assets? Really great spreadsheet need to create at some point. Spreadsheet concept. Set up affiliate simple websites and blog enough to get each of them to generate $250 a month, $250 a month. Hit your market 400 websites. So websites are digital real estate. Set up a bunch of sites. Not too difficult. Shouldn't be too difficult, depending on the niche you're targeting. To hit $250 a month per site, even less. Have to set up more sites, more niches. Certain amount of work involved, but the difference is your labor is going into the development of your content, your backlink structure, backlinks and what have you. Developing a brand, developing a website as an asset, right? This is a viable model, and it's actually pretty easy to do. All you have to do is make a website and start blogging. So that's a great method, and I'm in the process of developing more passive affiliate assets myself. So I'm just getting started in this kind of thing. But I have some things that make me a small amount of recurring money every month that are affiliate oriented like this, and so this is definitely viable. The percentages are lower, but some folks do high percentage affiliate offers, so maybe there's something to that, and I haven't looked into that. Next point, slowly buy turnkey websites that already generate a K a month. Hit your market 100 websites. So this is an investment oriented practice. You're investing into a site, and so it's high risk. But of course, if you make a good investment, it can become an excellent asset. So it's investment/asset method. You have to really know what you're doing. You have to know what to look for in link profiles. You have to, be able to look at the SERPs and look at the site content and know that you're investing into a website that's going to bring you recurring income for, the long term. So, not something I've never bought a full site like that. I've purchased domains at a higher value, but nothing quite like this. So this would be a great thing to look into once you get more experience. Next one, create high quality videos and big impression niches for upsells, affiliate offers, CPA ads. And it's ironically all these, some of these, a lot of the monetization methods that would require, its own categorization is which of these really are, you know, asset oriented. Like when you when you make a sale, is it building your asset? Right? Is it creating an asset for you and your business? And that's something to think about rather than arbitrating your traffic to create an asset for somebody else. So yeah, I ranted about that a second ago. So you get the idea. Now, the point on videos is that this is sort of a micro asset, or oftentimes we think of an asset, we think of a car, think of a house, think of a phone or a website, right? But what if it's smaller things? Like, that's the whole point with the non-fungible tokens, the NFTs, is instead of investing into a company as a whole on the stock market, with non-fungible tokens, you're investing into a single piece of media. And so it's a really fascinating development in the financial sector, and certainly in the way that we interact with assets. Uh, and if you think in those terms, any kind of media can be an asset: a video, a infographic, other types of graphics, and certainly web pages with various types of graphics, media in books, what do you call it? Audiobooks, right? Podcasts, right? Anything that can be digitally reproduced where it somehow is associated with your brand or with your product upsell, etc. That's a incredible asset. On YouTube, for example, you know, I don't have any kind of like viral videos, at least to date. but and that's kind of the obsession, is edutainment and every funny stuff or whatever. But every time I make a video, it ranks for something out there, and people see it, and it slowly accumulates subscribers. And sometimes people message me, and sometimes it results in people buy a product, or people want to pay for consultancy or whatever. So even at a small scale, it's very, very valuable to have your own video, well, not just video, but media assets. In this case with video, you got your recorded content, and then your asset in terms of traffic is your SEO, your keywords. So this is fantastic. I think it's a great time to get into this. Uh, it's way easier to rank on YouTube than anything else. So next point, hire someone to create a simple microservice that the average person would love and sell it for $2 a month. So that's kind of similar to the SaaS concept, except here, what I was thinking about was just something as no-brainer as possible. I saw a guy talk about in a video how he launched a service that sent people job interview questions. And I think he said he charged $5 a month, or it was like somewhere between $2 and $7 a month. It's like a low subscription to this mailing list. He probably used something like Substack to do that. And he said in the video that he made over $7,000 a month from that mailing list, just from sending people job interview questions, so that they would every day, so that they would practice every single day hard interview questions and be really comfortable for that high level tech interview. So that's kind of crazy, when you think about it. Great idea. Well, is it a great idea? It's kind of a ridiculous idea. Something you would think that's ridiculous. Someone could just look up those questions. Well, this is the time that we live in. If you can automate something to somebody's inbox, do some simple microservice activity. I mean, apparently you can make some good money. Obviously, he's not making He doesn't have 500,000 subscriptions, but he's got enough where that's a salary. Like, that's good money. So that's an asset. Someone has to create the content, the work they do, it goes into a mailing list that makes them money on autopilot every month. So obviously he has to figure out the traffic side. But next we got sell courses or exclusive access memberships through Substack, Tumblr, podcast platforms, Udemy, etc. for 15 bucks a month or so. Hit your mark at 6.6K subscription. So just 15 bucks a month, like for some kind of subscription with just several thousand people, you're is that correct? Did I do the math wrong? Let's see. 15 times 6.6. Oh wait, why did I do that? 6.6 should be 6,600. Oh yeah, it's close to 100 grand. I guess I did the math. Oh, I guess I just removed the repeating sixes. But yeah, that's crazy. All you need is 7,000 subscriptions at 15 bucks a month, and you're a millionaire. That's crazy. Why are we not all millionaires? Because it's a mind bender, right? You have to line up a lot of different things: your product, your monetization, your traffic. Obviously, your product has to be quality, right? But with Udemy, for example, I saw someone did a course on some really simple thing for some Windows thing, like Excel or whatever. And it's like a $10 course that had like 50,000 5-star reviews or something. So they at least made 500 grand from that course. And Udemy it's an internal search engine like Fiverr. So you make a good product on there and you get traffic from ranking for that product. So to my understanding. So that's a great idea. And there's a lot of things like that. Podcasts are becoming more popular for some reason. I don't get it. I don't get it. But and now Tumblr recently added a subscription. We could talk about this for hours and hours and hours. There's so many platforms and there's so many opportunities out there. It's just a matter of understanding the right ones to do to accumulate assets and not to just spin your wheels and just work all the time just to make a little bit of money, right? Next point, write and produce a trendy pop song. So this was kind of a joke, but when you think about it, it's true. A song is an asset. Even if it only sells for $1, or if it doesn't even sell for anything, you make money off of CPA ads on YouTube or something. It's an asset. You make money from that forever. And it's kind of ridiculous when you think about it. You just make a little bit of music and you can make recurring income. It's pretty awesome. That's one of those pieces of media that you make something quality, you can make money from it forever. And I showed in past videos, like some guys do like forest sounds. So some guys don't even do music. They do things like ambience, or ASMR, or weird things like this one channel I saw. These people had like this tiny turtle that like they put a mic right next to it and it crunches like food. They'll put like strawberry and popcorn and different types of food, and then they'll just like you can just watch the turtle crunch into food. And I mean, that's like a whole channel just watching this turtle eat food all the time. And there's like a whole following that think the turtle is so cute. But just think about that. You can make money. Anything that you do that's interesting to people, put it in the form of an asset and you can make recurring income from it. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Next point, reverse engineer low investment commercial businesses to create an asset. Now, this is just a sort of broad statement, but that if you get into the mindset and the understanding of what is asset oriented, then you could just look at businesses that exist out there in various niches. Like if you get good at doing keyword research, for example, or just understanding like low market, competition, then you could just look at, okay, is there a business that's doing something really well? How can I piggyback on that? And that's something that's a more advanced principle, but it's obviously you would want to do that to create assets. But I mean, I think that summarizes it. Now, I've given you guys a lot of examples, and I think you pretty much get it. You think about it at the product level, traffic, monetization. But the point is, you're basically instead of trading your labor for money, you're trading your labor for property. That's kind of the idea. Like, and this is why this recently I've been studying really intensely, researching a lot of things in agriculture because I'm interested in getting into certain things in agricultural space. And this really immediately occurred to me that in farming, um, the whole industry is focused on assets. It doesn't really work any other way. You don't really work. That maybe farmhands and certain other people can perform services and consultancy for farms, for example. But if you set up a farm, you're going to look at that farm and you're going to think, okay, what crops do I want to do? What livestock do I want to handle? Do I want to plant trees? How do I deal with soil erosion? And things like this. You think about the assets that you have in your property, right? And everything you do is about acquiring assets and doing labor to nurture those assets. So it's really weird that in digital, there are a lot of things that are not asset oriented because digital is sort of non-tangible by comparison. And so I bet that if we looked at a variety of other industries, we would see the same thing. Like if you were to look at, excuse me, if we were to look at salon and spa niche, for example, look at nail salons and barber shops and massage therapy, for example. These are industries that are heavily labor oriented. Very hard to create assets in these industries, but possible. In doing haircuts, for example, you could create assets by making a certain kind of razor, um, or developing a course, right? Or developing a YouTube channel that talks about these kinds of things. I was telling somebody the other day, I was doing a consult video for a girl um, who has a flower farm in uh, in her property, and I was talking about scale and product and all these various things, and something occurred to me. Hey, you know what? You can make more money by doing a video about a flower than you can by actually selling the flower. It's kind of mind-boggling when you think about it. And not only that, but you can upsell from that video into fertilizer, worm castings, biochar. I mean, you can make more money by talking about how to grow lavender than by actually growing lavender and selling lavender. You can, it's kind of mind-bending, right? But you see, that's the whole point of how to make money online. uh, it's meant to be with assets like this. It's not meant to be par for par exchange of your time and your labor for some product or service. You see what I'm saying? Like it's meant to be something where you can figure out how to create a recurring element with digital products. And so now there's all kinds of arguments and back and forth and considerations, but that really is the bottom line. The bottom line is we need to be spending our time when we're looking at making money online to creating assets. Now, I didn't talk about investment a lot, and that's because investment is high risk. And I'll just, before I let you guys go, I will comment that don't fall into the trap of thinking that you have to have money to make money, or you have to take a risk in order to make a lot of money. Some people have. That doesn't mean they have a business. A business is something scientific that is where science is something that is testable, observable, repeatable, and so on and so forth. Um, you need to have a system in your business where you can invest your time to create, to roll up value in your assets, and you're accruing income over time, right? That's a business is being able to create recurring value. Now, a lot of us get really good at, okay, we can go and do some work today and make some money, and we can go and do some work or make a sale, and then sales is something, but it's not an asset. Now, you could argue that skills are assets, but I think you kind of see what I'm saying. You know, don't you don't need to put your money, your labor at risk. So don't fall into the trap of high risk, high reward, uh, greedy sort of options. I've lost a lot of money in courses and software, and it's not worth it. 99% of my money or whatever has come from simple services and simple offerings. And I'll talk about some of those things in other videos. And arbitrating software, for example, is really great. But everything you need to be looking at in terms of your assets you're investing into needs to be low risk. You know, you need to be able to see, okay, if I continue to build content, if I continue to create product, you know, I'm gonna make my money back as long as you make, good products. And that's like why print on demand is so much more appealing these days than let's do something wholesale and then ship it to a fulfillment center, because then you're getting into, a certain amount of risk when you haven't even proven your product. So there's a lot of considerations, but in the end of the day, just want to encourage you guys. I'm working on the same transition myself. Um, with all that getting, get assets. Labor to acquire assets. There's a Bible verse that says, "Wealth gotten by vanity shall be diminished, but I think they that gather by something like they that gathereth by labor shall be increased." So you got to make sure that the work you're doing is scalable, it's into an asset, it's not some vain scheme or gimmick, right? Quality labor is important, but a blacksmith hammering on his anvil can never accomplish the work that a hydraulic press can do in a few minutes. So just think about that also. That hydraulic press is an asset, right? Investment/asset. um, Labor is of value, but it has to be driven to good ideas. It has to be invested into things that are going to create assets for you. So that's pretty much it. I appreciate you guys watching. And if you have any good ideas for asset oriented uh, business marketing strategies, methods, tactics, etc., and also asset-oriented traffic generation, monetization, anything that's all about like, okay, this is totally an asset-oriented method. Please comment below, because I'm always open to good ideas. Having a model is the most important thing. You have to have a good idea to put your work into. Otherwise, you're just going to be spinning your wheels. So thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you later, guys. Bye-bye.